Luca Nation, welcome back to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze. And
You muted yourself. Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze. Oh my!
oh my!
And then you were on mute. Yeah.
You know what I was thinking today? Very heady.
Let me guess.
Type.
I want pancakes for breakfast.
No, I want brisket for dinner.
Like a good brisket? Like a barbecue brisket or like a Jewish brisket?
Barbecue, Texas brisket.
Oh, that's much better.
Mexican
Jewish brisket, they take in, what they basically freeze it for a year and then bust it out on a holiday and then microwave it until it's dead and it has no flavor and no taste. And then you get to complain.
Well,
no?
I've had this place before here. It delivers.
Well, that's just delicious. What my mother cooks.
Is Cat's Deli brisket?
It's a different kind of brisket. Very different kind of brisket.
Jewish brisket, in my experience, is a lot more rough. And the Texas brisket I've had here is very I don't want to say
smoked.
Supple because that's like leather. It's
yes.
It's
smoked.
Tender.
It's good. Brisket, barbecue brisket is a good time. It's very different. I remember the first time
I've been trying to order it for 4 days. They were closed on New Year's Eve. They were closed on New Year's. Correct. And then they were closed on Monday. And they are always closed on Sunday. So 4 days, basically, I haven't been able to.
It's like the post office. The post office was closed on Monday this year, too, which is very weird. Post office by me. I was like, what the heck is going on here? I went to the post office. I'm like, I can't even mail my stuff out. How are people supposed to get their submission returns?
We don't work anymore. We say unemployment is low, but that's because everyone's just sitting at home trading cards and NFTs and JPEGs.
And Bitcoin, except for I literally just got a text. Something's going on in Kazakhstan. Energy crisis and Bitcoin's going to collapse. Somebody just texted me. Kazakh government resigns, shuts down the internet amid protests, causing Bitcoin network hash rate to tumble 13.4%. So that's what's causing a precipitous drop in Bitcoin right now. I'm literally getting these messages as we're talking.
This is the country where Borat's from?
Yeah.
That can't impact our economy. Who cares about what happens in Kazakhstan?
I would imagine there's probably some Bitcoin mining going on there.
You know what was a really cool podcast? If you guys ever have 2 days of not doing anything and just want to listen to a podcast, it was Dan Carlin, Wrath of Khans. It was incredible. It was basically how the Mongols conquered what they called the steppe, which is that part of Eurasia into Mongolia into China. And really their competitive advantage was they were incredible horseback riders. There's even art and murals of how they could hide behind a horse and still throw spears and arrows. And they just decimated everybody. It was the horse was the first technology, really. There's bow and arrows. But
you know what Genghis Khan's favorite food was?
I mean, I'm not going to go that savage, but he was a very savage human being.
Twinkies.
So
Genghis Khan loves Twinkies. He loves Twinkies.
I don't get it. I don't think the audience does either.
Well, the ones who have seen the movie Bill and Ted's Adventure have.
Do you watch anything that's real?
It's always a movie. Dude, I learned a lot about Genghis Khan. I mean, it's pretty awesome. Learned about Joan of Arc. Beethoven.
Joan of Arc.
I learned about, Socrates, Billy the Kid, Abraham Lincoln, Sigmund Freud, dude. I learned about all kinds of historical people in that movie. It was great.
You know what's interesting
Genghis
about
Khan
history?
Likes Twinkies.
You know what's interesting about history is how somebody gets painted as heroic and somebody gets painted as a villain. I don't know about Joan of Arc, but she's painted as a heroine is what they call her, which is a very interesting word that you would use to describe it. That's a woman that's a hero. But she's painted as a hero, right? But you have Genghis Khan who's painted as this evil conqueror. And it's interesting.
Kill a man and you're a murderer. Kill a million and you're a conqueror.
What's that? That's cool. That's a cool line. What's that from?
It is a relatively famous
Braveheart?
quote. I have to give it from the movie Cliffhanger. It's spoken by John Lithgow, one of the greatest actors of all time. Great in Harry and the Hendersons, a movie you should watch before you die. It's about Bigfoot moving into a family. It's a great time.
I have a lot of movies I need to watch.
Dude, I could give you a list of I could keep you busy watching awesome movies for the rest of your life. There's a lot of movies you can miss. But listen, people get them. A lot of 80s movies in here. John Lithgow, he's a good guy. But yeah, that's it really depends on the perspective, right? I mean, they say history is written by the victor. So that's kind of the story, right? You know the golden rule? He who has the gold makes the rules. That's from Aladdin.
So
I'm in a movie
the two
today,
biggest,
clearly.
the way I understand that, by the way, we're big into crypto and NFTs in America. You guys know that China banned crypto, but they're big on holding gold. And I believe so is Russia as well. You guys out there, what's cool about our audience, Cage, is they're smart mother effers. They're smart people. And a lot of ideas, concepts, topics, our audience kind of slides into our DMs and help us just get to where we need to go. Because we don't have all the information. You call it fact checkers. But I'm curious, who is the biggest hodler of gold? And I'm pretty sure it's China and Russia, but I'm not totally positive on that. But that is a true statement. He who holds the gold controls.
I mean, I think Kanye West probably gives China a run for their money. He's got a lot of gold too. But yeah, he's icy. Yeah, man. All right, so listen, the sports world. I mean, we're 6 minutes into this episode. I have done my best to take us off the rails, and you, as always, just keep the train moving forward. So well done, my friend. Trust me, the audience.
Awesome plays.
They thank you. I have one play,
today.
but I have questions for you. Okay, so allow me to do questions, and I'll roll into your quiz. Number one, because my questions might be your plays. Who has a bigger impact today? The return of Kyrie or the return of Klay? Which one's going to be a bigger impact on their team?
Return of Kyrie.
Why?
Dude, think about this roster now. So they got Patty Mills. And Patty Mills has been kind of playing poorly recently. He hasn't been shooting well. But your fourth best scorer is Patty Mills. And at the end of the day, basketball is just a game of who could score more points. It's actually quite simple. And when Kyrie, Harden, and Durant and Patty Mills could, on an average night, if their points add up to 100, how can you stop that? Whereas Klay comes back. Klay hasn't played in 2 years, Cage. People don't realize he hasn't played in a very long time. And there's going to be some acclimation there. Whereas Klay is incredible, and is an incredible shooter, but there's going to be this awkward feeling out process for the Warriors where he's probably not a better player than whoever he's going to start in front of right now. Obviously, he is a better player, but you have to get back into game shape. So there's going to be some wrinkles. It's not going to be, a smooth transition where he just comes in and puts up 60 points every game. I think there's going to be a little bit of they're still going to play really well, this Warriors team, but the upgrade, the delta, Kyrie coming back, at least short term, is going to have a bigger impact, in my opinion. You
know what I think it is also? If you look at the Nets, they've kind of been limping towards the Kyrie return. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the game against the Grizzlies, it's almost like, all right, we don't really have, he's coming. We'll be okay when he comes. And, they've lost a couple games, that they probably could have won. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting take. I'm excited to see both of them back because my next question for you is, and you might think I'm nuts, more so this year, and definitely more than 3 years ago, I am finding the NBA regular season to be, I don't want to use the word boring, but when you have Trae Young use the word boring, right? And you have basically players now with the phrase load management, sounds dirty, but you know what I mean, which was not a phrase utilized by anyone before a couple of years ago. And basically you have your own analysis. The Lakers able to play at 70% during the regular season because they know they're going to be there to win a championship later down the road. I find it harder to get up for the average games, especially when you see the Nets lose by 30 to the Grizzlies on a given night. That if it's the playoffs or the end of the season where the playoffs and the seeding matter, that's not going to be the outcome of the game, right? So talk to me about that, whether you are like, the hell with you, Cage, you're an idiot. There's nothing more exciting than the fourth quarter of a basketball game, no matter if it's the regular season or the postseason. And then the part B of the question, does that impact cards? Because we're not hanging on every dunk and every game and every Luka three-pointer at the buzzer. And then I guess the third part of this is, does COVID play anything into that? Do we have less excitement this year for the NBA and cards because on any given night you don't know whether Luka is suiting up or Trae is suiting up or this one's in the protocol, and the most exciting thing is whether Joe Johnson is going to get in the game. So, lengthy three-parter.
So I'll answer the last part. COVID doesn't play a factor in that because that's kind of how NBA has always really been. Like the last 12 to 13 years. A lot of what I'll call casual fans, not casuals in like the mean term of Twitter, but like casuals they don't love the intensity of the regular season. So I don't think it's COVID that's made it boring. It's just how basketball works. Basketball isn't a very intense sport when you have 82 games. Well, I think why we love football is it's kind of like a battle every single Sunday where these guys give 100%. Basketball regular season to me is like more of a game of chess where teams are working on rotations and how to play off the ball and how to set screens for each other and things like that. I like to watch regular season because I like to see before the market sees who's trending up and who's trending down. Like Darius Garland, for example, they lost to the Grizzlies last night, but that was a tough game. It was a close game, and it's cool to see how Darius Garland's game has evolved every season. And how he's improved and how he's added moves, right? Because, I mean, basketball isn't a physical sport in general, if you kind of think about it. Like it's a sport where you develop a move, the defense has a counter, and then you have to have a counter to that move, right? If the defense forces you right, you need to be able to go left. And you work on that stuff in the offseason. And then the first even 75% of the NBA season is about getting that in game speed. So I'll pause there because I don't want to just ramble on and on. I want to get like your takes. You're on mute, but
no, I think you're. I think you're. Semi right. I mean, the COVID thing. The issue that I have with it is it's more of, if you're a fan who's getting into the games and you're investing in a player and you're doing your stuff, it's like, all right, well, I'm going to watch 4 or 5 games in a row. Let's see what he's doing. Let's see if he can build up some momentum. Let's see if this player keep going, and there are some players that are doing that. I mean, look at the rookies, Giddey in Oklahoma City and Wagner in Orlando.
Yep.
Irrelevant teams, but the players are looking pretty good. I mean, Joel Embiid had a great week this week. Ja is playing out of his mind right now for the last couple games. But as many of those guys I named, there are other guys who just cannot stay healthy. They're missing a week. They're missing 5 games. They're missing all this time. And yeah, we have that all the time. But I think
but that doesn't bother me. Actually, that's exciting because it gives me opportunities to watch some of the guys that might be stars in 3, 4, 5 years, and it'll give me a leg up on whether investing in them.
Okay, so that's the answer. That's a good answer because it's a different way of investing. It's not. Don't look at it like, wow, I can't watch the guys I invested in. It's see if there's other guys that I can invest in and get a head start on them. It's almost like, prospecting in baseball where, the teams that follow the beat writers or the teams that follow the minor league, system, the farm system and whatnot, say, all right, well, this guy's going to be great in 2 years. You're getting a glimpse of that because of maybe people are getting playing time that they otherwise wouldn't have gotten, which is cool. I mean, this is definitely a different way of looking at it. So how about the grind? Like
Christian Wood and Kevin Porter Jr. Think about those two guys. They're uninvestable now. You could tell what kind of personality and attitude they have, right? They have every opportunity this year to play big minutes. They used to be backups, but now they're getting big time minutes and they're showing they can't handle that. That makes them uninvestable, in my opinion.
All right. I mean,
whereas I'll throw you a different one. Dylan Brooks is out for the Grizzlies. Yep. Who knows if Desmond Bane would be playing at such a level if he didn't have 2-3 weeks to really know that, all right, I'm getting my playtime. Remember, Dylan Brooks used to start for that team.
Yep.
So I think those kinds of opportunities are really interesting. Jalen Brunson's another guy. He's not really investable, but he stepped up with this Mavs team.
Yeah, I said him yesterday.
Luka was out for a while. Really now KP's out. So,
All right.
I mean,
Well, it's a good. Listen, I like it because you're always ready to come and be glass half full when I'm glass half empty, which is fine.
I really like NBA. I really like NBA.
And I mean, there's different ways to invest. So I mean, that's great. Can I give someone credit?
Sure.
I watched the game last night, and it was against a crappy team. But I watched the entire Lakers game last night because we've talked about LeBron. He's playing at a really high level. And you could tell he was into the game last night. You know, he hit a layup in a 3-point play. He didn't hit the free throw, but it basically spaced them enough at the end of the game where you knew they were going to win the game. It was going to be too much for Sacramento to come back in the last couple of minutes. By the way, just an aside, I need a Sacramento jersey that says Sacktown because I just think that's hilarious. So, but I'm watching the game.
Imagine it playing in Sacramento. Like you must hate your life, huh?
Well, so I'll get to the flip side of this. LeBron is doing some amazing stuff. I mean, we are watching some stuff, and maybe this will be the new norm with science, right? Life expectancy is longer, the whole deal. You know, Tom Brady's 44 years old. This is the first time ever in his career that he's had back-to-back 40 touchdown seasons. Think about that for a second. Dude's the greatest to ever play. And you know, I'm a Montana guy, but Brady's the greatest. I can't argue.
You know what's crazy?
Now, go ahead, shoot.
Look up some NBA players that are in the similar age range to Brady. Shaq is 49 years old. Like, it kind of is crazy to think about like the eras that Brady has spanned.
Well, I mean, he came out in 2000, right? So, you know, you got to be looking at people who would be. I mean, he played 4 years of college too, so he's a little bit, a little older because of the college. So you could have, NBA guys that came out who would be a little younger, but 4 years of college guys, 2000. Who are you talking about there? We can think about it. But point is, LeBron is playing really, really well. And, defensive effort, some great blocks, taking charges. He looked a lot better last night than even in the games before, because THT came back and he's actually starting to hit some 3-pointers.
He's the worst player in the entire
I have to give
league.
Malik Monk some credit. No, he was hitting good shots, and you could tell he understands spacing with LeBron. So I don't like him. He had some weird travel calls and you name it, but you could tell what you're saying about LeBron makes sense the more you watch him. He has to be put with the right players. He has to be put with people who are going to space the floor for him to drive, not clog the paint when he wants to get in there. With no Anthony Davis in there, LeBron, you could tell when he wanted to get in the paint and shoot, he did every single time. Now, there's a 7-footer on Sacramento who basically looks like he's wearing cement shoes, but so he wasn't doing anything. But LeBron looked really good, and Monk looked really. I think it was 4 for 9 from 3, maybe 5 for 10 from 3-point. I mean, scored 20 something
6 for 11,
points.
8 for 15.
Crunch time. I mean, he played well. Took a lot of stupid shots. He was still the Monk I remembered. Dribbling around in circles around the basket, and the whole. But there were more times than that, so much more good than bad, where you could tell LeBron. I don't know what it makes people around him better. I watched Monk a lot more when he was in Charlotte, and I did not watch a lot of the game. The Lakers were almost unwatchable for the first half of the season, right? But I watched because you and I talk about this, and I watched that game last night until late, like 1 in the morning.
It's tough too, the 10:30 start.
And I watched the game, and I watched Monk. That's a different player, and you could tell he does not want to piss off LeBron. That's what you could tell. And it's funny, yes, he was on Michael Jordan's team, but Michael Jordan wasn't out there on the floor with him. You could tell LeBron, like he's spacing out the floor, and Monk, there are plays where Monk's in the right spot, and you could tell where he's not, and LeBron won't pass him the ball. Like, you could watch, it's actually going on in the game. And I'm like, I can see that. And you can see LeBron's like, no, you should be over there. You should be further into the corner. You should be spacing this out. Because that way, if I want to drive, there's more room for me. So you can see it as it's going on in the game. I like watching NBA because I don't get a lot of time to watch a million NBA games, but that was impressive. The biggest takeaway I had from that game is I really want De'Aaron Fox to go play for a team that's relevant. because he's exciting. I don't know whether his skill set and his athleticism and you name it will translate to a long career, but when he's on, the dude is good. I mean, he had a lot of points last night. He's playing the game at a different speed than everybody else who's out there, which is exciting enough to watch. And people don't get to watch him. People don't get to see what he does out there, and that's a shame. Like he'd be somebody that, this is going to sound nuts because it doesn't put them over the top or anything, but I'd love to see on the Knicks. You know, put him in a place. Yeah, put him in a place where, you know. Go ahead.
So two comments. LeBron's offense is pretty basic. It's a drive and dish.
Yep.
Drive and dish. That's why him and Anthony Davis don't really work, especially when Anthony Davis can't hit threes. One center max. Drive and dish, surround him with shooters. It's really not that crazy of a blueprint. De'Aaron Fox, I think he needs to carve out a Jamal Crawford role. That's where I see him, because he's not a true point guard, first off, and he's not a good enough like Curry, point guard shooting, like a shooting point guard to really ever win. But he could put some teams over the top, like on the Mavs. He'd be a really interesting fit coming off the bench on the Mavs team, where you could just switch up the pace, right? You have Luka, who slows the game down, is very methodical, and then you have De'Aaron Fox. That's really tough for a defense to adjust to.
So we give plays here, card plays and stuff like that, and it's always, hey, we like this one, we like this one. I'll give one today also. But I'm going to give a quick play also based on games I've watched, and it was actually in a win. The Knicks won last night, but I'm going to give a play to our audience. And you guys can disagree with me. I'm sure there's reasonable, discussions to have. I'm curious what you say. I've also, because it's a local team, I've watched a lot of Knicks games this year. More than I probably should have, because the team is pretty terrible. The Kemba Walker experiment's been interesting. Evan Fournier hasn't been what he should be. And, the Knicks have taken, 3 steps back from, where they were last year. And I have to say that if I were a holder of any of R.J. Barrett's cards, a lot of people hold him. A lot of people think he's like, it's Zion, Ja, and him. And now with no Zion, he's like the Luka and Trae is going to be R.J. Barrett and Ja. Do not make that mistake. I do not think Barrett is going to be anything in this league. I think the Knicks should try to get rid of him and try to get something for him, take away somebody else's problem and give up yours. The dude can only go left, and the league has figured that out. And you can tell. You can see it when you watch him play. That's
the beauty. That's the beauty of watching these games right there. Because, sorry to cut you off, but I agree with you. He has so much potential, but that's why some games he can put up 30, and then against a good team, he puts up 14 or 16, and you're like, why? And it's because of that. But, dude, that's why the offseason is so important. That's what you could find out about a player, because, dude, you can work on that. You could, in 2-3 years.
His shooting hasn't improved at all. He's not really that great of a three-point shooter. He's an athlete. So, he's somebody who, at this point in his career, I would have expected to have seen him already work on those things in the offseason, in the downtime, with the team, and the Knicks especially. Julius Randle is one of those unassuming, doesn't want to be the lead, doesn't want to be the face of the franchise. That is the mecca of the NBA, where everybody is allegedly wants to play. It's a franchise screaming for a face of the franchise, and Barrett was what everybody thought was going to be that, and he is not it. So if I'm holding Barrett, I'm selling Barrett while I can still get something for it. That's just a fun little card play, right?
I would say the jury's out on him. I think everything you're saying is 100% true. He's only 21 years old, though, Cage. And believe it or not, the transition into the league is not easy. Let me ask you, when do you think the player, we just talked about LeBron, 38 years old, he's still playing incredibly well. When is the prime?
Well, it depends. Now it's younger and younger because they're coming into the league younger and younger.
You think the prime of a player is younger? I think the prime is older. I think the prime in early 2000 was 25, 26 years old. I think the prime of a player right now is 28 to 33.
All right. That makes sense. There's a lot of players who are doing that now. It depends, right? It really depends on the what kind of game the player has, and whether or not they develop. So I guess that makes sense. I just think prime, somebody like Luka, he's probably, getting into his prime now because he's been playing for so long, even though he's still young.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have these guys that don't stay in college. So you'd figure after a couple years in the NBA, they'd be in their prime. They'd learn, they'd be at their peak. There's only a few players who buck that trend, who consistently work on their game, like LeBron or Curry or those guys, right?
But they're the measuring stick, in my opinion.
But most of those guys, know who they are, right? You know who they are after a certain amount of time. You know what I mean? There are outliers like, Dame Lillard, right? Dame was not Dame time in the beginning of his career. He's always been great, but it wasn't until he was 28, 29, 30 where he became, 40 points a game Dame.
But I would say Dame's prime was 3 years ago. He's 31 now.
Exactly.
28,
He's
29.
going to be 32. Yeah. So I'm saying Dame is an outlier. Dame is for every Dame who got better at 28, 29. I think there are 10 guys that are in the league that are as good as they're ever going to be by the time they're 24, and you know who they are.
But Tatum is one of those. But that's. I'm not saying prime based on using examples. I'm saying prime based on how your physical body forms, right? Because Luka's.
I'm not in my prime yet.
That's true.
Yeah, it's coming.
But like Luka's 22. Really, if he's training, I would like his body looks. He looks more out of shape now than he did last year. Yeah. Where you look at Giannis, man. Giannis, I think, should be the example of what someone entering their prime should look like. The guy is a better shooter, more physically fit, stronger every single year. And that's how these NBA players' bodies fill out. Like, look at Embiid at 18, 19, 20, man. He was scrawny.
Yeah.
Now he's 25, 26. Now, you could defend. Now you're a physical specimen. That's what I mean by prime. Of course, guys that don't work on their game or their body or their physique and all that stuff, yeah, they're going to shrivel up or they're not going to last. They're going to start getting injuries.
Okay. So you think RJ Barrett's got a lot of years to grow into his own?
Well, Ja was a topic I want to discuss because I've been very optimistic about Ja and then pessimistic at other times, right? Mostly. It's been very interesting.
I've always said he was the best player of that draft, and you're like, no, he's athleticism, and and we all one thing we can agree on is, yeah, please, go ahead.
One thing we do agree on, go ahead,
was that his style of play will lend to issues down the road, a lesser length of his career, and probably more injuries. We've agreed on that every time.
Yeah, and I've thought about this a lot today because Alex from our team asked us, have you changed your tune on Ja? And one, I change my tune on players all the time, depending on how they improve. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not in control of how they play. I just like to watch and then tell you guys what I'm seeing. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. This is how I word it. Ja was stuck in this space in my brain between, is his career going to go Russell Westbrook, or is his career going to go CP3, or is it going to be a mixture of the two? And what I'm seeing from Ja is his basketball IQ is significantly higher than what I think Westbrook's is. He makes better decisions with the ball. He makes better decisions in the game. Russ Westbrook, you know how they call him a stat patter?
Mm-hmm.
It's because he's not really, I know he plays hard, but his behavior and actions on the court aren't really meant to win the game. They're meant to get him the stats that he likes to get. He loves to get his rebounds. He loves his triple doubles. He loves scoring points, but he doesn't make good decisions. Like if you look at the box score yesterday, he has more shots than Malik Monk every single game. To me, that's ridiculous. He's not a shooter. Whereas but he's all over the court. He's running around. He's all this effort. Yeah, look at CP3. CP3 is 38 years old. He doesn't do a lot on the court, but he controls that entire game cage.
Yeah, CP3 is a great point guard. But it's a great question. NBA, name for me the point guards besides Steph Curry who are better than Ja Morant right now.
I mean,
there's a reason why you're silent.
Well,
I think you can make an argument that there is none.
Well, can I explain to you from like a basketball standpoint?
Explain it to me from a hockey standpoint, please.
Well, like the Wizards recently moved Bradley Beal to a point guard, but he's not really a point guard. It's just like this new NBA. Is Harden better than Ja Morant over Bradley Beal?
100%. 100%.
Kyrie
Still Ja.
And I'm not trying to badmouth Ja. Like I think Ja has improved significantly, and he's definitely the second best point guard in the league this first half season. But like, there's still a lot of really good players.
Listen, CP3, you could say, but he's 38 and on the the downside of his career, and like you said, he's not doing too much now. Beal in spurts. There are guys in spurts that are good, but Ja has put together a hell of a season so far. He really has. And and the team looks good. They're not going to win anything this year, but they're a team that looks like they are, primed to take a step forward. And he looks like a leader out there. He just does. He looks like you can go to battle with him, and he's gonna finish.
I agree. But point guard's such a weird term because this whole point guard thing has changed. Like now, like these aren't traditional point guards.
I get it, but we have who the point guards are in the league, whether you want to call him a point guard or not. Curry's a point guard.
Someone in the comments didn't agree because, you guys that watch basketball understand what I'm saying because it's just interesting to watch the evolution of basketball because what a point guard used to be was John Stockton, Isaiah Thomas. They bring the ball up and they run the offense. Now they bring the ball up and they look to score and then they run the offense. Mm-hmm. And that's a fascinating transition, like evolution of the game.
Just means they're running the point. Whether they're scoring or passing, they're running the point. Hence, point guard. Fine. The point part of it doesn't mean scoring points. It means running the point. So I don't watch basketball. I've never watched a single game. But
you do. Stop acting like I'm acting like that.
But you understand what I'm saying. And this was a conversation, by the way, that was going on the NBA network last night. And unanimously, they, based on what they've seen from Ja the first half of the season, Curry was the only. I'm talking about Isaiah Thomas. And who else was on there? Brandon Hayward, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's just whatever team they had on there at the time was basically saying right now Ja is below Curry and no one else. Now that could change. He could fall off. He could. A lot of people have great first halves. Look at Shohei Ohtani.
You called that. No, it's interesting. Ja's playing incredibly, incredibly well. Someone I'm really disappointed in, and the stats would say he's great. It's Trae Young. Dude.
I didn't get any offers on my story sale for Trae. I got a lot of people asking me if I would trade, and I said sure. Just what do you got? And I got like people offering me, PSA 9s, nice cards, but a bunch of cards for the Trae. I'm like, no, I'd love to see an offer, but not a single cash offer yet for the Trae, which is interesting.
I don't know where this fits in, so it's just a random thought. But a lot of people compared Trae to Steph. Like, at least his game was similar. But what people don't realize about Steph and why I was kind of weird about that whole point guard thing is what makes Steph amazing is he could play off the ball as well as he plays on the ball, right? Like that whole point guard takes the ball. But, dude, Draymond really is the guy leading that team in assists, Cage. And a lot of the game is running off screens. And when two defenders go to Steph, it opens up everybody else for backdoor cuts or wide open shots.
So is it too early to judge Trae? Because if you look at Steph at that point in the career, very similar player. Now, if I put Trae on the Warriors with a Draymond, where he's learning from him and they're getting that timing down, the passing game down, and he doesn't have to be the assist leader. And he's got somebody like Klay to take some of the pressure off of him, and he can just go out there and have fun and not have to be the heel, carry the whole team on his back and still lose.
But why couldn't he be like this is maybe a hot take, but I don't know a better young supporting cast than the Hawks, dude. That team is stacked with.
So I will screw you because you'll have it both ways. They are athletic, they are young, they are athletic and young, but that does not make them a good team. There is no leader on the team. So think about the teams that have been successful recently, right? Where you have Giannis, who's a defensive leader, and Chris Middleton, who's an unassuming, does not need to get a pat on the back, just carries his lunch to work every day with him, brings his lunch and does what he needs without the accolades.
He looks like Nemo the fish.
But Miami on the other side, Jimmy Butler, same ilk, right? You have we just talked about Draymond Green. Like the successful teams have those type of players on their rosters.
Iguodala and Sean Livingston changed that Warriors team. People forget those two vets came in. Sean Livingston was incredible. People forget.
Think of how much Kevin Love contributed to LeBron's Cavs team, right? Right.
I don't see Trae working off the ball. I'll get into Kevin Love because, dude, people say LeBron has never had help. Kevin Love's a savage, dude. Kevin Love was an all-star, a double-double machine for the Timberwolves before he came over to the Cavs.
Yeah, that's Wayne Wade guy. But the point that I'm trying to make is, if it's
Chris
too
Bosh
young,
and Kyrie,
if it's too young to judge R.J. Barrett, if Barrett's not in his prime yet, and that he can develop into something, then how the hell are we not giving Trae Young the same benefit of the doubt? And if you look at his stats at the same time at Steph, he's ahead of the Steph start to his career.
He has two huge vulnerabilities. I've never seen him play off the ball.
Okay, and defense. Steph's not a great defender either.
Just let me get there. Yeah. He takes such bad shots, but I'll say Steph does take a lot of bad shots too. But dude, defensively, I don't know. Like Steph bulked up. Trae is tiny. Like if you look at him in the court, he looks like he doesn't belong there. Do you agree with that? Like he looks like he's in high school when everyone else is.
He's got to get bigger.
How is that going to magically happen?
Well, didn't we just talk about all of these guys who are huge now, but they were smaller, like Joel Embiid?
He's 5'10". He's 5'10". He's Kemba size.
But Desmond Bane is not the tallest guy in the world, but he's built like a fullback.
He's thick, dude.
So the height isn't always everything. I think, and on defense, he's not going to be playing centers. He'll be guarding guys that are a couple inches taller than him every time, but he actually has to play defense. But yeah, listen, I'm not a huge Trae guy either. But you got to admit, for today's NBA, for today's fan, he's pretty awesome. He fills the stat sheet up. But then again, so did Russell Westbrook. And he shoots the ball from half court. And yes, 5 times he shouldn't be doing it. But the 1 of 5 where it goes in, it makes for a great clippable content by, Buster's Hoop Nation or Overtime or whoever's going to be posting the fun clip, So listen,
I'm very down on Trae. I don't know.
You have to root for somebody. Are you rooting for John now? So
I don't root for people. I don't care about them at all, dude. I just like watching the game, and dude,
what would get you to?
I just like to watch players. I like watching players improve, and I like to see their.
What would he have to improve?
I would say shot selection is probably number 1, and running that offense better. Like actually running a real offense. Dude, their offense is so bad. He takes such bad shots. Have you
watched a lot of Hawks games? You know what I see? It's funny because I watched it with the Lakers last night, and most of the time the spacing was really good. I watched it with the Warriors. Everybody's always in the right spot. Everybody. With the Hawks, it's like they're running into each other. It's like watching a high school basketball team. And they can be the most athletic guys in the world, and they can be, they can stay in games because of that athleticism. Maybe some of that's coaching. Maybe that's just the guys, they don't have the right parts to the team there, and maybe you trade away some of the. You made this point yourself that every one of them is interchangeable, right? They're all the same guy. You said on our podcast, and you're right.
But they're all very good.
But
John Collins,
but trade one of those. Trade Reddish or trade one of those guys and get in a real. Capella's decent too, but get in somebody who's just not looking to score and is going to get rebounds, and get Trae and everyone else second shots, and Bogdanovich second shots when they're chucking the ball up. They don't have that guy, And Collins is great. He's a high flying, posterizing dunker, but I don't think his offensive rebound numbers are that good. So
I know what you're saying.
Somebody in the trenches, man. Somebody in the trenches, yeah. Somebody who gets them second opportunities to play, and there's a difference between rebounds and offensive rebounds. That's somebody.
Thank you
really
for saying
working.
that. Thank you for saying that. I very much agree.
So let me.
Interesting. He hasn't played in a while.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. I posted something today. I posted about Aaron Rodgers. I posted this because I was listening this morning after dropping my kids off at school. I was listening to sports talk radio, and there was a huge discussion about this. A Chicago sports writer. We talk about the MLB Hall of Fame votes, but now the MVP votes for the NFL are coming, right? And this is one of 50 sports writers who has a vote for the NFL MVP, and he came out, and he's a Chicago guy, so take that, from where it's coming from, right? Came out and said he's not voting for Aaron Rodgers because he's a jerk, and that you can't be the biggest jerk in the league and win the MVP. And he even went as far as to say, value is part of most valuable. Trying to talk about like values, you know what I mean? That Aaron Rodgers. And basically when pressed, what he said was that Aaron Rodgers was such a distraction to his team in the offseason that he set his team back so far by causing all the drama, not reporting, not leaving them in a lurch, not letting them know where they were going to be, not being able to prepare the same way that every other team was able to. That he started them off so poorly that he has already basically lost his right to be called the MVP. And of course, the questions being asked were like, okay,
what's this guy's name?
His name is like, I don't know, it's a weird name. You can check on my post. It's like Hank Ardush or something like that. You can take a look at it. He's a Chicago guy, and Rodgers owns Chicago. You just pull out my Instagram; it's probably the last post that's on there. And we got a lot of good posts on there, and
Michael
really,
David Smith. I could have been more.
That's not his name. That was
He's
the person who wrote the article. That's the writer who wrote the article. I wrote, if you read my caption, it's like Hank Ardush or something like that.
I see it.
Arkush, right? So
God,
anyway,
this guy's the worst.
The people on sports radio who were talking about this morning were basically like, look, Jonathan Taylor's had a great season. Cooper Kupp's had a great season. Like, these guys are great. They've had great seasons. But this guy did not say, I'm not going to vote for Rodgers because Kupp is better. I'm not going to vote for Rodgers because Jonathan Taylor had a better season. He basically said, I'm not voting for Rodgers because Rodgers is an idiot. What do you think about that?
Called him a bad guy.
Bad guy.
To quote.
Yeah. It's a good headline. That's why I posted it, right? I think Rodgers, as we speak, is a minus 700 favorite to win the MVP right now. So
wow,
yeah. And I think the second favorite, by the way, you want to guess who the second favorite is? Plus 1,200. Joe Burrow, after the last 2 weeks, has moved into the number 2 slot. Yeah, because Taylor has kind of fell off a little bit the last couple weeks, and the team actually needs to win this week to get into the playoffs. And Kupp's had a great year, but receiver, it's tough. For the last forever, that award is an MVP award is usually a quarterback award the way it is in today's game.
35 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Huh.
Who are you looking at?
The bigger news here is Matt Nagy's going to get fired.
Hey, that's not the biggest news. You talk about Chicago. No, so my play today, and I'll let you roll into yours, is Aaron Rodgers. But guys, here's the smart stuff here, right? If you bought Aaron Rodgers, I have it. It's an Upper Deck 2005 rookie preview. You can take a look at the card. Did
you watch the Monday Night Football?
I did. Yeah.
Did you see Eli coming after Rodgers? He said, "Enough with this whole toe injury.
Yeah,
we don't believe you."
Because he's scrambling. He's running.
Dude, Eli's low key hilarious. That was one
both
moves.
those guys are. But
yeah,
I watched them with the Browns, right? And Peyton is like, I need an injury report. Like, what's going on here? Like, what's going on? I need an injury report. Who is he injured? Like, what? Somebody who's on the team there needs to give us a report. They're basically like, what are the announcers doing? Like, this is your job. Get us an update on whether or not he's injured.
Are they
he's
coming out
in the second half.
Baker Mayfield? He is
Nick Chubb.
He's been injured. Oh.
No, Nick Chubb, because Chubb wasn't playing in the first half. And you're like, where the hell did he go? No, so Rodgers, that rookie preview card, it's another one of those ones where he's got the Green Bay uniform on, but I think he's got like those fancy bright yellow shorts on in the card. So why bring this? The last auction on this was like, end of December was like $200 something bucks. If you would have bought into it, if you're a believer in Rodgers at the beginning of the season, it was less than that. It was 100 and change. And it shows you that there are ways, if you are betting on the right guy. It doesn't have to be the new rookie. You didn't have to pick whether or not Trevor Lawrence or Mac Jones was going to be the right guy. If you thought Rodgers was going to win back-to-back, MVPs and he was going to be your guy and the number 1 seed, you buy Rodgers card at the beginning of the season, they still can go up. As a matter of fact, rookie-wise, you could argue that buying those veterans in season are better than buying the rookies. And let me give you an example, okay? And that's my play, guys. And the reason for that is because I think when we're in the playoffs, that card, it's one of the cheapest, and I'm talking about a PSA 10 on this card. It's one of the cheapest Rodgers entry points. And after he wins the MVP and is in the playoffs, hell, if he wins the Super Bowl, doesn't even have to. That card will probably be 50% more than it is now. People look at it, you buy for 2 and change, buy for up to 3, and people are going to be looking for a Rodgers rookie. That's an entry-level one. If you want to buy the tops one, that's also not that expensive. That was a play I gave, a while ago. You gave. We had, who was it? The Wharf, I think, who said he was going to win the MVP last year, and, he came out and he did it. Now it looks like he's going to win it 2 times in a row. Rodgers has some entry-level upper deck tops in PSA 10. You don't have to go crazy with the chrome, but his cards are, it's an acquired taste. Think about what we just did there. We talked about him being a jerk and then said buy his cards. So, but here's the fun, right? If you bought Rodgers cards in the beginning of the year because you thought he was going to have a great year, the downside is not so great because the guy's already won. He's won accolades individually and as a team. Super Bowl winner, MVP winner, continuing to play, and may even switch teams. Who the heck knows what's going to happen next year? You can get a bump from that if he goes to another team. But
Rodgers is going to go to a different team?
Who knows? Remember, he was a holdout this year. That was the whole drama in the beginning of the year. So, I don't know what happened to you. He disappeared there. But yeah, I mean, Rodgers, Russell Wilson, might go to another team. Chances are he stays in Green Bay, but they may trade him. Who the hell knows what they're going to do? Jordan Love's waiting in the wings, and, they might.
You thought I changed teams. I went to the Bucks.
They might, they might be done with him, but who knows? But the point is, the downside is probably low at someone like Rodgers in the beginning of the year, and as he now plays well, that card and all of his cards, they move up. Whereas, if you want to, you can take a look at this. Look at what Joe Burrow's cards were selling at in the beginning of the season, as opposed to what they're selling for now. And Joe Burrow, I use him as an example because he's the best one of the bunch from last year. Now, forget about Herbert. You expect, even though Herbert hit the Pro Bowl, you expect his stuff to, be down a little or, flat. It's the Trae Young effect from the year before. It's the Josh Allen effect from the year before, right? Where in the beginning of the season, the hype, the run-up was the time to be unloading their rookie cards, because even if they do well, the Joe Burrow card that I just sold through the story sale was selling for significantly more money to start the season than it sells for now, after he just put together 2 weeks like the league hasn't seen in forever. And that's an interesting thing for you guys to be mindful of, right? Even somebody like we had Trae, right? Remember that Trae rookie card? The Trae card kind of got beat up, even though what more do you want out of Trae than the season that he had last year? Josh Allen, same kind of stuff. Are you looking at the card or, so?
I'm going to have some fun with my final topic here.
Cool. Shoot.
I'm going to have some real fun.
Be good. Be nice. We're 48 minutes in. I don't have to be, I don't have to be mad at you.
Who cares? We haven't done a marathon in forever. We're having record numbers.
No, I just mean be nice. Be nice. Go ahead. What do you got? Looks like you're reading the comments, so I'm afraid. Looks like you're reading something, and I'm like...
I have 3 plays, so I'll rattle them off quickly. I like Aaron Rodgers. I don't care about his off-the-field stuff. None of the stuff that he's done is actually, bad off the field. I think he missed voluntary practice. I
don't think he played week 1. Right? Go back and look.
It's hard to keep up with all the drama, dude.
I mean, it's a long time ago now. It's so far back, but I remember he wasn't reporting. He wasn't there. And
then they get smoked by the Saints week 1.
And they got killed. And people were like, wow, how could Rodgers do this to his team? The Saints destroyed them, remember?
Yep. I'm going to leave this because I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. So I have 3 plays. I'm going to do these in order of funness. So there's this UD 1992 International Larry Bird Michael Jordan card. Have you heard of this card?
Is it the one where they're cartoons?
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be the International. There's a version of that in the regular set too. International's probably got a low pop. But it's like a Heroes card.
Yes. Super just interesting card.
Is it
I
called
don't know
Fun
what
Motion? Fanimation. That's what it was. Fanimation.
I only go by what the slab says. Here's what it says, guys. It's card 90, 1992 UD International. This is the Italian version. You'll find that, and then you'll maybe find the not. There's like this also. Yeah, Fanimation. You're right. Here's the Fanimation card.
Fanimation. There you go. See?
Just a very cool card.
But there's different ones. That's just Jordan, right? Or flying
Yep.
with the, and then there's one with him and Bird. Yeah, cool stuff.
Cheap, cool. It's not shiny like Kaboom.
It looks just like Kaboom, by the way, but it's $55.
Yes. You said it, not me.
Let's keep talking about it. It'll be worth $55,000 by next week. Let's go.
Do you remember when that whole Kaboom pump happened? That was so interesting.
Still going on.
Second,
Yep.
Game Boy Colors. Game Boy Colors as like memorabilia. They made a ton of these, but dude. So did you see Logan Paul made this piece of art where he poured stuff,
Epoxy.
and he said he got epoxy.
He
He got
got
a ton of backlash from the Game Boy Color crowd, and he said 90 million of these made, so not short supply at all. But what it showed me was how strong the Game Boy and the Pokemon community truly is. So they're like $20-$30 for a used one. New one is like maybe a few hundred. The point of that is, does this have potential to be like the new version of like an iPhone 1? I don't know. But dude, the Game Boy Color crew is legit and it's cheap. It's super cheap, and you can get unopened ones for a few $100. I have no clue about how these work. It was a play that I wanted to bring you guys. You guys could do your own research on it. It was just interesting. Third play, Upper Deck Exquisite 2003. I think that's going to be a super iconic set. I think that's more iconic than the prices you're seeing on 2012 Prism is just astronomical. And it makes no sense. We could talk about like the silver version of the LeBron 2012 in a PSA 10 is a $40,000 card, which is insane. So I went on 2003 Upper Deck Exquisite, and there's a David Robinson card for $800. Game worn autograph patch from an iconic set of the Admirable. You could go all the way down the board. There's Gary Payton cards from that year. Why are you laughing? Admirable?
Because you made his nickname better. He's now the Admirable. I love it. I love it.
Why did you hold it in? You didn't want to say anything in return?
I didn't want to because I make fun of you enough, and you make fun of me enough, and people say I make jokes and stuff, and plus, you like to tell people you're an immigrant. So when it comes to like language and stuff, I don't want to skew you too much. I know what you meant, and people listening know what you meant, but Admirable is actually
I was
funny.
watching
Like,
your
he's
face,
the
and you were
Admirable.
holding it in. Go on YouTube if you guys. Minute 52. Go on YouTube. You'll see Cage try not to crack up.
David Robinson, the Admirable. I love it.
So I'm seeing this like 10-year LeBron card, 2012 Prism, iconic set, all that stuff, $40,000. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna go to another iconic set. 2003 Upper Deck Exquisite clearly is an iconic set, and you have these greats, these like literal Hall of Famers, game used. Autograph, $800. Gary Payton was $400. I mean, go down the list, pick guys. You could figure it out from here, but I think that set is going to have some real lasting power. And if you ask me, 2012 Prism or game used autograph jersey, and look at the prices between these two sets, it doesn't even make any sense to me. Now, the topic du jour. I just saw this. Starstock is partnering with Knights of Degen to do a remint. So
remint?
Yes, it's a remint available on OpenSea. Like this. Here are some data points. So Jack Sittleman, from what I understand, is an influencer for Starstock. So he gets paid to do breaks and stuff like that. Knights of Degen is his project that they created on OpenSea.
Okay.
So is now Starstock shilling Jack Settleman's Knights of Degen project by reminting it. I don't know what that means, for a price that's the floor price is 0.2, but they're reminting it for 0.269, which is over $1,000.
What is the remint? What do you get?
there are 6 out of 10 spots available, and in those spots, you get the opportunity to win some really rare versions of the NFTs.
Okay.
I guess it's like a break into the NFT.
It is. Maybe he put up, 10 rare ones, and your buy-in is yours, and you get to remint. Like you trade yours in, you burn yours for a rarer one, and I don't know. Who the hell knows?
Right. But those rare ones, they just held them back. So they're not putting any stake in the game, and they're just charging people for 10 spots. 10K?
Listen, here's where I'm going to fall on this. You ready? It's something new in a crossover between tangible and digital. And we've taken probably more heat than anybody for trying to expose people who are solely tangible asset collectors to something else that's out there. Now, we're not going to force anybody to do anything. And, a lot of people in our space are probably reading that and saying Starstock has jumped the shark. But I'm not going to say anything bad about it because, listen, whether you're a fan like Mount Rushmore of Panini Digital, or whether you are a fan of Top Shot, or you are a fan of other sport NFTs that are out there, there are people in our universe who think that digital should be a part of your portfolio, digital cards, digital sports, digital assets. And we do get, for all the slack we took, we do get a lot of great comments from a lot of people thanking us for exposing them to this as an alternate asset class, and teaching people that there's something else out there. Hell, I learned about it this past year myself. So, I don't know.
Well, I'm going to go to Golden, and I'm going to auction off the Lucas Tigers crown.
He'll do it. Ken would do it. Ken, you would do it. Ken's the best.
No, but fine.
Listen, I understand what you're saying.
Flood people's projects.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, listen, maybe it brings a little more, eyeballs to it. The Knights of Degen project has some really cool people behind it. We've spoken with Blake Jamieson ourselves a couple of times. He's the artist for the NFTs, and people from our hobby know him because he was an artist in Project 2020 and Project 70 for Topps. People like his art. So, yeah, I got to tell you, I'm glad you brought it up because I had not even heard of it beyond seeing Starstock was going to get into NFTs. I now immediately want to go research it more to see what, information is out there. So you've done a good deed for them because I didn't even really plan on looking at this. And, now people who listen to this, the thousands in attendance and the millions watching at home, they can go check out what this is all about. So...
But Starstock isn't getting into NFTs, and they're not changing their business model for the 44th time. They're pumping a break with somebody that's on their payroll. That's where my issue with this
I don't know.
I have nothing against. He's done Starstock breaks.
So have I.
But it would. It gives me this very weird vibe of like. It gives this very weird vibe. Dude, our audience, I think I'm curious to see the comments this one gets, but they're not coming on here and doing a break of our NFTs for higher than the floor is.
All right,
listen, I get ones.
I get what you're saying. I definitely do. But what do I know about Starstock? I moved all of my singles into a Zion PSA 10 and a Luka PSA 10 base cards. That's what I have sitting in Starstock right now. So I'm doing great.
I'll move. Last thing. This is how stats are taken out of
Luka and Trae.
Yeah.
Just a stat.
The post is Trae has Luka Doncic beat in almost every statistical category. It's a Basketball Forever post. And everyone in the comments is like, Trae's way better than Luka. It's been Trae since Luka since last year. Hawks won the trade. And I'm like, none of you guys watch the games. The Hawks just lost to a Dame Lillard less, CJ McCollum less, Portland Trailblazers, who are a bottom 3 team.
But Trae scored 56. That's all that matters.
All right. I could tell. Dude, it's an hour long. We'll wrap. This whole show's supposed to be
No, dude, listen, I understand what you're saying. The point is, guys, if you ever want to talk to Andrew, make sure you have watched years of the NBA. You literally have to do nothing but watch the NBA and then approach him. Do not come incorrectly with Andrew.
I hate people that pick up that are like just stat readers, and they
Because
use
if you
stats to
say, listen, Embiid, he's not that good. Andrew, you don't watch the games. If you say Klay Thompson is the best best 3-point shooter ever, you don't watch the games. If you say LeBron James
I say that all the time, man.
wears number 23 and switched it to number 6, you don't watch the games. So watch the games. Otherwise, he has
Boom
that
roasted.
on you guys.
I do say that a lot.
It's all right, but you watch a lot of basketball, and I get it. And what's funny is I want to retract my Malik Monk venom because of what. And it's just one game that I watched last night, but I can see what you're talking about with the cohesiveness between him and LeBron, and how it's funny. I watch Disney movies all the time, and Remy the rat in Ratatouille explains how when you combine two foods together, they're better combined, right? Sometimes 1 + 1 = 3. That's what you get with the right combination of foods. Malik Monk is like a -4. But when you pair him with LeBron, all of a sudden there's a positive out of that. So I get where you're going.
Malik's a -4. LeBron is a 23, but together they're a 30?
Yeah, exactly. Together they're like a 21.
He's
23 - 4, 19. He's just a little less negative.
Dude, a lot of topics. This is a topic du jour episode. There's so much here.
And we rolled out a second batch of Luca Nation awards at your request. So go ahead and vote on those. Hobby Celebrity is my favorite one. I love the comments on that one there. Let's see. We got Fractional. Who's the best fractional brand? We got a PSA SGC showdown. What else is in there? We got, RPS against nobody. Right?
I mean, I kind of wanted to make it a joke, but
Best
it wouldn't
breakers?
be fair because, dude, the breakers come out in full force. Like, how did you not leave this guy off? And then this guy's like, I've been breaking since there were 2 accounts on Instagram. What does that even mean? There was literally a guy.
Well, that's good. I'm glad they're commenting because obviously we had never heard of them, nor did anyone on our team or the people we asked. Now they have been heard of. But breaking is one of those things, man. People are loyal to their breakers, right? And
I only buy weed from one guy.
Yeah, you got a weed guy. You got a guy. Think about what happened when you left your boxing trainer and you went to another guy and you cheated on your boxing trainer. Think what that boxing trainer was like. You're dead to me, right? Literally. You're dead. That's it. You're done. If you went
by the
to
way,
a different
do you want to buy my bike for a few $100?
if you went to a different weed guy than the one you got now, forget about it. It'd be crazy. The cartel would be after you. You got to stick with the guy who gives you seeds. All right. Well, it's good stuff. We're having some fun, is what I'm gonna say. So yeah,
this is one of my favorite episodes. This is one of my favorite
really.
Episodes. This would be a 3-hour marathon if I could keep going.
Yeah. Well, I drink too much soda during these episodes, so about an hour is the limit of where I can.
I forgot the text that you sent. I was like, we can do as late as you want today, Cage. No big deal. He's like, I'm going to get my kid. I was like, we can do as late as you want. He's like, 4:30 is perfect. That way it doesn't cut into dinner. It's already cut into dinner, and that's a wrap.
You're cutting into my